conversations. Conversations today are very important. They kind of build your experience. They give you the trust, to believe in a brand. Before I begin the session, I'll give you an experience that happened with me yesterday. So I was buying something on one of the shopping apps. This being the festive season, so there is a huge influx of customers on the shopping app. You know, I had to return one product, so I was pushing the return button on the app, and for one whole night, it was not returning. So it was showing me there's some kind of a technical error. I was like, okay, what's happening? My money's got to get blocked. What's going to happen with me? Kind of, giving me small jitters about it. So morning I got up. I thought let me go to the help button. Ask for the bot to start the interaction. I started the interaction with the bot, and the questions that it started asking me were very simple questions, very human questions that you would want to be asked somebody at the help desk. What is the problem that you had with the product? What is the thing that you want to get changed with the product? Since it had my number, so it had the order, on entire details about the order, on what's going with me. In 3 minutes of time, less than 3 minutes of time, it arranged for a call. That the call will happen in the next 10 minutes. It realized that, after this level, it requires a human intervention. So exactly after 11 minutes, as promised, I get a call from, the shopping app, and the lady who was speaking to me, in one of the most humble manner, she helped me, get my refund back. Then post that, I get a response on my text, on my SMS services. I get a, notification on the app. And then again, on the reiterating the notification, I got it on my email. So within a matter of, let's say, 15 minutes, 5 channels got involved. Mobile, SMS, WhatsApp. Five different channels got involved, and it was very interesting to see, how they're taking care of the customer. The best part was they were able to manage the experience, whether it was a human which was interacting with me, whether it was the bot that was interacting with me, the mail that I got, the SMS that I got, the experience was similar, which at times is very difficult for a lot of brands to maintain. So today, I have with me some of the esteemed panelists. Let's talk about how they are building experiences for their customers. Vivek, I'll start with you first. Okay. As I was interacting with the brand, across multiple channels, okay. So how are you building, if I am the customer, how are you building from, building this interaction from one channel to multiple channels?
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. So first thing, it is a matter of intent. So customer doesn't care how much you know about him, but he understands only how you can solve his problem. And in today's world, it becomes trickier, and there are more channels to communicate is available through WhatsApp, through internet, through the customer care. So marrying among multiple channels and have flawless data integration among multiple channels of integration is something very important. So at Fab India, we started primarily as an offline retailer, and now we are evolving in this journey of Omni and trying to interact customer and helping them in their pre-purchase journey, then purchase, as well as their post-purchase journeys. So that's our intent as a brand.
Okay. Parul, how does it work in your case, in the gaming category?
So, good evening, everyone. So, in gaming category, so I feel customers are the same, be it gaming, be it telecom, anywhere, right? Customer needs just few things. They want it to be interactive. They want it to be natural. It should not like very scripted. It should be free flowing, natural. Plus, it should be very productive. Productive, I mean, I should not spend unnecessary time interacting with a bot or with even a human. So these are some few very important things. It is like a heart of any conversation, any relationship building. Also, this is a foundation where we are turning a customer into a loyal customer. So now coming back to Jungly Games, Jungly Games ensures that all the conversations are there at one place. The customer is not supposed to repeat his or her issue. If, as you just now said, that you were initially interacting with a bot, then you got a call. So just imagine in your case, if you, while you were speaking, while you were chatting, and when you got a call, you had to repeat your problem.
Right.
So that should not happen, and we ensure that doesn't happen at Jungly. Thank
So
you.
I believe the beginning of delight of the experience that I shared, began with, when the call came, they
Yeah.
had the number, they had the entire product details. So I had to only tell about, what was the wrong thing, what did not went well with the product. And then I mean, like, what do you want after that product?
Yeah.
So the beginning of delight happened I believe, at that particular point.
So recognizing a customer, so
Correct.
customer, oh, they know me by my name. That's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Ravi, data, is the core behind all this. When the call came, they had the entire data about, my order. They had the entire data about, who I am, what I had bought, my entire history about that. Okay. Now now something that kind of deteriorates the customer experience, once the query gets solved, is that, bombarding of messages after that. I have your data, I have your information. Now probably you are not loyal customer to me this time, but let me keep on sending you messages one after another, week after week. And the customer, tends to get a little, I must not use the word irritated, but yes, they get irritated. So how do you ensure that, you maintain that line, that, you are able to communicate with them, and he does not get, annoyed also?
Yeah, absolutely. So completely agree with whatever you said. So what I would like to say that customers like purpose-driven communication when we send it to them, right? So now like everyone has a smartphone, everyone has like 10 or 15 apps there on the app, right, on the phone. And let's suppose if all the apps are sending continuously notifications and everything, so as you said, it would be like irritating thing for the customers, right? So all the communications which we are sending to the customers, they should be like purpose driven, that why are we sending, like whether it is a kind of refund notification or let's suppose a callback notification, anything can be there, right? And in addition to that, we need to make sure that it should be a balanced thing. At the same time, we need to make sure that if it is a very important thing for the customer, it should not be messed up.
Okay.
Right. So if I give you some number, right? So a notification within a day, right? It should not exceed by a couple, maybe like 3 or 4 in a day.
Okay.
Right. Otherwise, the customer will start losing interest in that particular thing.
Okay.
Right. That okay, 10 notification in a day. So they will see that okay, maybe like 2 or 3 are for me and all other like promotional and everything. So we need to have a balance there so that customers do not miss any important information for them, and at the same time we do not bombard them with everything. So purpose driven communication, that is absolutely good to go. So this is what we do in Cash Karo and On Karo, that whenever there is something important, we obviously send notifications via email, via WhatsApp and everything, but at the same time we always respect their privacy as well, right? Everyone needs some off time with their families and everything. So timing is also very important at this. So this is how we capture that.
So is there a way you decide the frequency also, that Devesh needs to be sent a notification on the day after his refund, then 2 days later, and then maybe on a Sunday or a Saturday? Is there a model to that which decides it?
Absolutely, we can do that. So the thing is now, because as of now sales season is going on,
Yeah.
so plenty of good deals are going on e-commerce websites and everything. So for these days, maybe notification would be higher.
Okay.
Let's suppose from November, when the deals are not like that, then the notification will decrease. And to answer the other question, it all depends how important that particular information is. Let's suppose if we are talking about the refund, so everyone would be interested to know when the refund would be coming into my bank account, right? So that should be immediate. However, let's suppose a sale is starting tomorrow, so there is no point sending that particular information today.
Correct.
Right. Maybe you can do it like if it is starting at 12 o'clock or so, but let's suppose if we have that time, so we can hold it and send it tomorrow. So it all depends on plenty of combinations there, but we can do that.
Parul, does that work similarly in your category? Because in the gaming category, I believe it might be a little different.
It is little different, but yes, I agree with what he said that we can't bombard a customer with lot of information. The moment we do that, the customer gets little irritated, and especially in case of a gaming industry, the customer, there are players who are playing constantly, there are players who are addicted, they play constantly for 24 hours, they don't like us to even call them, they will just disconnect our calls, and they don't want lot of notifications because they are playing, they get distracted. So this is the nuance of a gaming industry. Like I've worked with other segments, customers like to talk to us. Here the customers generally don't like to talk to us. One, they are busy playing. Two, still in India, gaming is not taken in a very good spirit. Hence, they generally don't like to talk in front of their families or while they are at work. So yes, they don't like too much of notifications coming in, but yes, when the money is involved. So let's assume a customer is withdrawing money and it has got stuck due to any reason, bank reason, UPI down reason, any reason. Then they want very constant updates from us because their money is involved.
I think that is right.
Yeah.
They can't be blamed for that. I believe notifications are good, Arvind and Praful, especially in the case of fulfillment, when my order is coming, has it been shipped from X city to Y city, what is the status of that, so how does it work, in your case, because I'm an anxious customer. I want to see, when it is arriving, what time it is arriving, and what is the status of it. So notification at that particular point is pretty good. So how does these notifications, how does these communications, let me not call them notifications, let me call it the communication with the, the customer, helps build a lot of trust, Arvind, you first.
All right, okay. Fine. I just want to take a stab on something which was being discussed earlier.
Sure.
When you quoted an example, so we feel is that if you have an issue, then you should not be over communicated through various channels, right?
Okay.
WhatsApp and bot, and thereafter a call coming in or a mail coming in. So we are looking at a solution, and we are in that direction in delivery, where if a consignee is approaching us for any issue through a website, moment he approaches and gives his details in terms of his mobile number, which is registered, or email ID, the system automatically knows as to seeing from this mobile number what shipments are there, which state are they in. Right. So we try and give a notification. For example, if Devesh is looking for when is my shipment reaching, right? So firstly, when you put the shipment number on a site, it tells you can track where it is. But your query is still not answered. You still want to move ahead. So if you say, when am I getting my shipment, without it going through any system, any process or any information, since you're interacting with the web at that moment, it'll give you a notification it's on track, it'll reaching you by so and so date and time. That is first instant. And second is, we're also looking at if an issue has been raised by you. So we in least number of communications and a single channel, we try and update through the customer as to what is the issue by when it is expected to reach. So that is the second aspect. And what is your question in specific?
So basically, I mean, like, how does this communication, build trust for me as a consumer?
Sure, fine. So if you are able to proactively update the consignee, once you have raised an issue, we've been talking about refunds. So if there's a refund issue, it just come to the system. So if you are proactively updated as to this is the refund, this is the status you'll get by so and so time, thereafter there is no further communication or anything required. And if I'm able to meet my commitment, I've built and won the trust of my customer. So we personally feel it's not that we keep communicating and keep informing, keep sending notifications, but to give a notification, give a communication, give a promise date, and then try and deliver by that.
Okay. Praful?
Yeah, no, just to add and just to give context also a little bit of what ShipRocket is, we basically enable technology solutions for e-commerce sellers, where logistics aggregation is one of them. So our communication is the reason I say that is because our communication is almost at two dimensions, and probably for Arvind as well. One, the sellers, which are our customers, and then their customers, which are the end buyers, for which packets and orders are going. So like Arvind was saying, I think keeping them proactively updated on where my order is, because there's a lot of anxiousness And you know, industry is moving towards instant gratification. I want my order here and now today, like with 2 hour and 10-minute deliveries as much. Not just communication, the tracking experience has gone to a next level where real-time tracking, you can actually see the boy on the bike coming towards you. Like all of those, while they come at a cost, and that's something that someone needs to bear. But all of that is something that's happening, and like you need to be really, really accurate there. And like in our experience, at least we've seen end buyers are usually forgiving if you at least keep them updated, but not keeping them updated is really a bad thing. The other sort of, you know, change that's happening now, communication is not just one way, it's become a two-way communication as well. You know, with WhatsApp, having smart buttons, etc., that you can actually get information back to say, hey, I'm coming for a delivery. If I'm not available, can I reschedule it to tomorrow? Or yeah, I'm not here, can you change my address from office to home, etc. That works really well in delivery, a better customer experience and actually successful deliveries happening overall in the industry. So that's a trend with smarter communication that's also come up. And the last dimension for us is our sellers, where that communication is slightly, so our sellers want to know how well you are doing for my buyers, right? Like, so if I have 1,000 packets that I'm shipping through ShipRocket, what's happened to them at the end of the day, right? Now, how that communication, it can't be 1,000 communications that are going out, but how can we be smart there to say, hey, here's almost like a report of what's happening, and can I take, you know, structured actions on some of those things? And again, the two-way communication kicks in to say, hey, this is what I'm happy about, this is what I want to escalate, and then the flow of saying what's happening to that escalation or that issue sort of also kicks in. So that in a nutshell is, you know, how we at least think of the communication aspect.
So what are the metrics, you know, that you keep here, Praful, you know, to decide that the conversation, the communication with the customer is going in the right, and the customer is happy as well as the seller is happy? What are the metrics of the success you keep for this?
Yeah, see, we broadly always, you know, break these down into leading and lagging metrics, like very, very crudely, and you have to look at both there. The leading metrics are always things like what are my response rate, what are my delivered rates, scene rates, action rates, etc., where you need to keep up to industry benchmarks, if not better, for certain kinds of communication. And like, you know, Parul was saying and Ravi was saying around how do you sort of also have criticality of what communication needs to go out, then you have a benchmark to say, hey, if it's really a refund or a recharge failed kind of communication, it needs to have like a seen percentage of 50% or above, versus when I'm trying to sell a new product, I'll probably benchmark somewhere around 5%. The lagging metric is really customer satisfaction, right? Which can be from a very e-commerce sort of domain, is the percentage of orders that are actually getting delivered on time for you, with the NPS coming back of, you know, upwards of 8, 9, 10, to say, hey, I was actually happy with the delivery experience, the communication experience, overall the experience. So those are the kinds of, you know, metrics that help us at least track if communication is in the right direction and the right capacity.
Okay. You know, Vasu, you work with a lot of brands, okay, you know, and across categories. Yeah. So, you know, in your opinion, are brands investing towards, you know, creating that right omni-channel experience, right conversational experience for their customers? Because Malcolm just mentioned about, you know, that, you know, he had a slide on refund. Really love that slide, you know, and on the right hand side of it, it was showing that, you know, my experience with the customer is weak, my experience with the customer is strong, my experience with customer with the mediocre. So the bot conversation that he was showing. Yeah. So are brands realizing the importance of, you know, creating trust with building these conversations, right? Because at the end of the day, they form the core of creating the trust.
So good evening, everyone. I think, you know, it's a very pertinent question, and we've heard across all my panel speakers, you know, talking about some examples of refund, some examples of customer experience, some examples of conversations going on. I think, you know, let's look at, you know, what's happening in the industry per se, right? You know, we started off with one single channel of communication at any point of time. You know, it was either a phone, and then we started adding more channels onto it. So we went ahead and said, you know, single channel, we'll have multi-channel. But then what happened is we gave options to the customers to be able to communicate. At that point of time, while we opened it, we still said that, you know, at the back end, there are two different people that's holding those conversations. It's not one single person. And then we also segregated our contact centers and agents, saying somebody's going to handle email, somebody's going to handle a telephone, or somebody's going to handle, I don't know, whatever other channels that you open up. But then look at it from a customer perspective. Yes, I started the conversation, and then your example of, you know, the customer delight, where you said, you know, you were very excited when somebody called you back and said, you know, so and so. So, and then we came and said, okay, from multi-channel, let's move to omni-channel. Right? We started saying that, you know, let's integrate some of the channels at the back end, or give a choice to the customer to be able to interact with you all. But then still a lot more inefficiency is there, because you don't know how to connect those conversations across all those channels into one single place. So that puts onus on people like us, or the technology providers like us, to say, okay, how are we a step ahead of the customer's requirements, and then how are we helping the businesses to be able to follow the customers and build these conversations, help them build these conversations, right? And in that process, what we have seen is a lot more conversations are happening, where you want a feedback coming in, and Praful spoke about. When a response comes on a particular channel, are you able to converse back on that particular channel, right? Those are things that we bring into the play. Those are technologies that we've built around. And if I want to say, based on some of the statistics that on certain surveys that we have done, and Indian customers, about 39% of Indian customers are looking at implementing a conversational CX, where you're able to converse with the customers across the channel of their choice, at a time of their choice, at a convenience of their choice, and then be able to improve the loyalty, improve the experience. Now imagine you're talking to a friend or your family, and then you're talking on a phone, and then the phone call gets disconnected or you get distracted, and then you go back and meet them in person. You don't say that can you help me understand what did you speak half an hour ago, right? So it's the same experience that you expect from a brand also. Yeah? So when you're talking through a channel which is a bot, and then it gets handed over to agent, you expect the agent to know what's the previous conversation. Or you switch channel to an email or to something else, you're supposed to know the context. So those are things that they're there. And then from an investment perspective, I think 39% they are moving towards implementing such technologies out here.
Is this number encouraging, 39% that you mentioned? I mean, it's a sizable number of brands, or the large?
I would say it's still a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done, because the technology is evolving, the processes need to evolve, and the organizations need to start adopting some of those technologies. So it's just a matter of few maybe months or years. I think we should be able to see a lot more things. And we also, as Zendesk, we started betting on certain technologies, and this definitely, conversational CX is one of the technologies, one of the bets that we think by 2030 most of the front office or front customer facing functions will become automated, or will become bot based, or will become AI enabled. I think about 75% we expect to be by 2025, and by I think 2030 most of the front facing conversations will move on.
I think Malcolm also mentioned in one of his slides that Indians are pretty much open to using the bot services because it helps them save time. It helps them. They are okay to use that. Because they see a lot of ROI on it. It helps them save time. It helps save them stress. And I saw that. I kind of felt that last evening when I had to do my work. So Vivek, coming to you. When you deployed, the conversational CX, and when you started working with, can you share some of the examples? Can you share, how it helped Fab India, in multiple ways?
Yeah. So we started one service called White Glove Service.
Okay.
So there you can call our service center, and then we send one employee with some of the options, and one can pick and choose. So that is one platform which we are providing to customers, where they can shop at their home, and whatever the options they want to have, we employee takes it along with him and show, and then buy. And then conversational commerce also, our focus is on interactiveness and personalization. So based on whatever they have shopped earlier, we can offer them similar stuff, and how we can make things interactive for the customer. These are the two intent on which we are working.
Parul, World Cup is coming. I believe it's starting this Sunday, 16th. Yeah. Okay. So I believe it will be a very busy time. People would love to play. Gaming would be a very integral part of this. So, with the help of conversational commerce, how does, Jungly Game benefit? Can you share some examples in the past, how it has helped you reduce the workload, helped you reduce the load on the call centers, how it has worked?
Yeah, so here I will talk both on conversational CX as well as the omni channels that we are using. So here, uh, whenever like there is an event like World Cup or IPL, definitely like we have a game like called House Ad. So definitely there is a huge influx in the volumes. There are a lot of customer players who come back. So like it is like a seasonal kind of a game, unlike rummy or poker. So since there is lot, so hence we have lot of automations in place, so that only where a human brain is required, those interactions should come to a humans, else through conversational CX we can resolve them, and that also in all those resolutions which are being either automated or resolved by a bot, we take a CSAT. So while we take a CSAT, we also check whether a customer is really unhappy with the answers what the bot is saying. We also check where the bot is breaking, so that we can quickly stitch it and ensure that the customer service doesn't take a kind of a backstab. Okay, so that is definitely when the World Cup is any duplicate ticket which comes, any ticket which is like something like 1 2 3 4, no alphabets mentioned, they are auto resolved because the associate is not able to do anything since the information is missing. So these are some few examples which I have given where we have conversational CX as well as automations in place. Also, like we have our high roller customers who, for them it is easier to reach us. Probably a new customer first gets a bot or a IVR and then they reach us. So these are some segregations that Jungly Game has done.
With this kind of automation in past, how much of the load has been, taken off from your associate centers, from your associates?
So we have a automation percentage of 65 to 70%, and we always check whether we can have more automations in place, but we never compromise on customer experience. So as I said, we rate our bots also. Similarly, whenever there is an email which is an automated email, we ask our customers to rate their experience on that as well. So we never we never compromise on the customer satisfaction.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ravi, data again, data is the key backbone of delivering, a great conversational experience, a great customer experience. Okay, so how are you leveraging data in your industry? To connect with the customer. Once he has onboarded with you, then creating those personalized offers within, sending him the right coupon. How does it work? How are you using data actually?
See, you very rightly said that data is like the most important thing that we have. They say that data is the new oil now,
Yeah.
right? So that is why it's, I will say it's a double-edged sword, right? So the thing is, data is important, but at the same time, it is very crucial as well, right? So we need to respect what kind of data these people, customers are sharing with us, right? So we make sure that when the customer is sharing some kind of data, right, we take their consent whether they are comfortable sharing like the things like with us, like what are the deals which are going on and so on and so forth. So it's again, it's a like consent kind of thing, and once we have that particular consent, right, then we start moving into that what kind of deals, or let's suppose whatever they have shopped before, maybe they are interested in this particular thing, so what kind of deals and what kind of things we can share with them. So again, without consent we should not. Once we have the consent, then again we need to be very, very careful that what kind of things are we sharing with them. So it should be balanced. That again I am coming to the same point, then customer should not miss, which is very beneficial to that. At the same time, they should not have everything maybe like they are not interested in, right? So once the consent is provided, after that we take it up with the other stakeholders and provide that.
Okay. Praful, in your category, how do you leverage data? My shipment is delivered, okay, and the e-commerce seller, has my data. So what role, ShipRocket has, in leveraging the customer data that you have, and how do you, make use of that?
Sure. And let me first try and talk about maybe the customer experience part of, how we at least think of data, and obviously there's work to be done there. See, one is, and our customers, which are essentially sellers, how do you help them with a better customer support almost, where basis the data that you have of all the transactions that I'm doing through you, what are likely to, sort of fail, or what are likely that I'm, reaching out to you for. I shouldn't have the customers to do the work to say, hey, this is the shipment, this is the AWP, this is XX, or like your example where you had a bunch of stuff already pre-filled almost to you. One is to actually lessen that load on the customer. The other is taking out trends for them to say, hey, can we solve them at root cause itself, or be proactive? Like, there shouldn't be no need for you to actually reach out to me in the first place if I'm able to do that well. The next level is like, how do you almost look at, and what Parul was also saying, like differential experience. Like, and can you predict some of that differential experience to say, hey, this is probably a customer because of X kind of issue, X kind of history, is probably more irate and hence need a faster resolution, versus another one who can probably stick around for a little bit more, or these are sort of our green category customers, or these are some people who are, necessarily do a lot of customer queries every time and then. So like, how do you sort of optimize that experience and almost differentiate versus a cookie cutter approach of everybody getting the same experience? So at least that's how we think of from a customer experience perspective for our sellers, which are our customers. For the sellers themselves, at least in the e-commerce domain and in India, one thing that e-commerce sellers specifically are very, very careful is how to optimize the costs. And freight cost, which amounts to 10 to 15% of any order that they're shipping out, is a huge cost if that order does not end up getting delivered. And specifically in the COD world, which happens in India, you have a bunch of orders that don't get delivered because there's people just placed an order and chose not to accept it later. How can you be intelligent in at least giving signals to the seller, hey, that Praful is probably not a good customer. Can you at least make sure that you confirm the order before you send it across, or can you ask him to give you 100 rupee token amount on this 1000 rupee order, so that he has skin in the game and he will accept the order, versus you incurring the freight cost of forward and reverse, not to mention the inventory or your product being out in transit with propensity to damage, etc. All of that. So those are the kinds of things, and that goes back to a little bit of the experience that kicks in here, because and like, you don't have to do that manually. Like, a conversational commerce experience can actually do that for you. Like a product that we have essentially reaches out to buyers on behalf of the sellers to say, hey, Praful, you just place an order, you sure you want this order? Yeah, and is this address correct? I see a house number missing, etc. All of those signals in a back and forth conversational commerce experience goes back to, partners like delivery and other courier partners, where they make sure that they do the best job of delivering the orders, which creates a better seller as well as a buyer experience.
Yeah, just before that, I just want to make a mention that I represent delivery. I was mentioning that, and delivery is the largest logistics supply chain management company in the country, and yeah, that's about it. So I'll pick up a thread from where Praful left is, how do we use data? The job is to pick up the shipment at the right time and deliver to the consignee at the expected time with the least amount of cost which we give to our partners, right? So where we use data is starting from the seller, marketplace, a lot of shipments being picked up. We try and collate the data where as to which marketplace seller shipments are ready at what time do we pick up, right? So we make sure our endeavor is that the pickup team reaches there to pick up before the shipment ready time. That is one thing. It should not happen that they reach much earlier or later and waste each other's time, effort and money. Second is the address part also. Praful made a mention. This is very, very important. You give your address and you miss out a lane, or you miss out house number or flat number. So we have been delivering billions of shipments, right? We're almost over 50-60 million shipments a month. So our system has collated data. If Devesh has missed an address, part of component, the system knows basis your details, coordinates, and would auto-correct the address, so that shipment reaches the right location. That is one. Second is also to our partners, we have a service available. Basis the data, what is the probability of the end customer accepting a shipment or returning a shipment? So that everybody, the seller, the e-com players, the aggregators, everybody is driving their process and business efficiently. So that's again the data which is there with us. with number of times the shipment, despite correct address, everything, etc., the consumer has returned the shipment for no reasons, maybe any, but we just work out a probability, and if we have a service available, that we can share the data. These are some of the ways we are using. Also, we plan our routes, we plan our vehicles, trucks, sizes of facilities, docking ports, etc. All basis the data. Like this is the current season which is going on, e-com players, the sales, the booms, etc. So we know what is the forecasted volume, right? And what would be the flow from which direction to which direction, and what is the number of trucks which would be required, what is the number of riders would be required, what is the size, what are the ports to be created. All that is done proactively. So that's how where all data plays a very, very major role.
Interesting point, Arvind, that you mentioned. You know, Vasu, like Arvind mentioned and Parul also mentioned, you know, they're talking about a journey, you know, from the for the customer, you know, from the seller to the customer. He has my address, you know, he can auto-correct it. You know, Parul has an idea about, you know, who are the high rollers and who are, you know, who has not raised the right ticket, you know, missing alphabets in it. They have the entire journey of the customer based on that. So are brands really, you know, looking at, you know, understanding this customer journey? Are your partners, I mean, like the brands in the industry, are they, you know, trying to understand this journey? Are they investing towards it to understand this journey to make this conversational experience much better?
I'd like to handle it in a slightly different manner. You know, I'm not looking at the entire journey of the customer, how he traverses from the various segments of the business, from delivery to kind of this thing, but I would want to restrict it to the conversation around how the customer journey happens from the time that he tries to reach to the brand, right, for a customer service. Now look at it, you know, at certain point of time, the brands used to decide and define when a customer would want to reach them and on what channel they should be reaching. You know, reach me on this number from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Beyond that, there's nobody available. I mean, you couldn't even leave a voicemail at certain point of time. But then we came and said, okay, we will deploy a voicemail and, you know, various other aspects of it. But then what happened was, you know, while we do this, and then, you know, imagine then the IVR came, right? And then we defined the steps and sequence how a customer is going to connect with us, right? There is, if you need to, this press one, if you need the other one, press two, kind of this thing. And then there was a sub channel and a sub channel. And sometimes, you know, today, I don't even think I would want to call my credit card
and go
bank.
to the IVR.
You don't want to do that, absolutely. But what's happening is, as we move forward into future, it's all going to be intent based, right? It's not no longer going to, because customers are frustrated going through this decision tree kind of this thing and saying, you know, I want to go through this road, which is defined by the brand, not by this thing. So it'll be intent based. And, you know, I want to give an example. You know, I had a Schwab account in the US, and, you know, obviously working for MNC, you have some perks of RSUs and ESPP that you do that, and then I had to transfer some cash back from there to Indian account. So you have to call them and then verify yourself before, while you do the transaction, but you still have to call them. When I called them, there was a voice prompt that said, can you read out or spell in one word what do you want? Okay, I said, I want to do a cash transfer. The response was, okay, transferring you to the wire team. Now see, it saved me from the effort of going through a long process and said, you know, directly moved me to the intent, right? I think as we move forward across in 2025 and 2030 in terms of betting on some of these technologies, and obviously a lot of data being available to us and, you know, harnessing the data, we will move away from dictating to the customer what the brand wants to what the customer wants, and where does he want to land.
So are brands looking at, you know, customer experience, conversational customer experience as, you know, a profit center or, you know, as cost center? So are they investing towards it? You know, they're realizing that, you know, it's a long journey that will take it, you know, or like, you know, like Parul mentioned, Ravi mentioned, you know, how they have kind of benefited from it. I mean, like, you know, it's more like a profit center where, you know, they have actually started deriving the right ROIs with the help of, you know, reducing the load on their centers, you know, making the automation right. How is?
Very, very interesting question, a very pertinent question also. And I think, you know, some of the leaders out here must be answering this question to the board every day. And, you know, why do you have such a big, large contact center? You know, it's a cost center. Why? I think, you know, the secret lies in here. How do we leverage the agents or the contact center or the customer service team to be able to do revenue generation activities, right? How, and you know, if I go and do a survey around majority of the customer support heads, they would say that 70% of the calls or the requests that come are very routine in nature. Can we automate those tasks, right? And then take that away from the agents and into bots, into self-service knowledge articles that the customers can be able to solve their problems themselves. Right. Once that happens, then you have the agents who are free, who can do more complex things, or you can also go ahead and do a very hyper-personalized customer service, right? Which you could charge.
True.
Right?
True.
That's one source of revenue. Second thing is, do an upsell or a cross-sell activity, right? That's again a revenue that the same team, with at the same cost, is able to provide additional revenue to you.
Correct.
So the second thing that we're talking about. So those are things, and I would like to take an example of something that I read 2 days ago, and I'm sure most of you would have read. It was on the Economic Times. State Bank of India. They have a 3,500 seat contact center, and Mr. Khare had very clearly said that I'm converting my contact center into a profit center. And this becomes my 18th circle, that in the bracket it says virtual. That means, they have the 17 operating circles across the country where, they're able to provide services to the customers in terms of upsell, cross-sell, whatever those things are. And, he's gone ahead on record saying that, I am using my contact center as a profit center. Because today, they have started seeing that pre-approved loans conversion is much higher what they do in the branch. So those are examples. And nothing better than these, like saying, let's move some of the transactions out into automation and then leverage the agents to be able to do things which are more personalized services. And this is going to be the nature. This is going to, and you possibly started seeing them in some of these examples.
Yeah.
I think the brand is also running a very interesting campaign on, SBI on WhatsApp, and they're helping you get the mini bank statements and the balance inquiry on WhatsApp. It kind of defines, how they're reducing the load on their contact centers, and helping the basic mundane queries, to go directly through the bot. And as you mentioned, it can help the personalized services and the more grievance services and different formats of services to the customers who actually need them. So, it gives them a lot of bandwidth.
Absolutely. Or the bots, I have a very interesting story about it, And I will quote a couple of examples out here. I have a home loan, and most of us do have a home loan. And
Most of the Indians.
Most of the Indians. And in pre-pandemic, I would possibly walk into a branch because I would need some statement, either a tax statement or a home loan statement, or what it is, or I'll make a call or I'll send an email to them. But then after pandemic, very interesting thing is I went to the site and then they had a bot, and then I interacted with the bot. It authenticated me and then said, what do you want? I said, I need a statement, and statement downloaded. So I didn't have to go anywhere. Yeah. Very generic task. Again, it forms a part of the 70% conversations, right? Good experience. The second example, and it's very clearly nearby, when you walk into the Aerocity area and you will see, they have a QR code saying that, if you want to explore this area, scan it. And being in customer experience space, selling technology, I wanted to just try it out, and I went ahead and scanned. It's a WhatsApp with a lot of menu options, and it's a bot. It said, hello, I'm Amelia, and I'm doing these things. Now I started to interact, and it started throwing options. And then I met a friend of mine for dinner, and so I stopped the conversation. And I had to send a mail to Rahul because Malcolm was not coming. We were not sure of his visa. So I was checking with Rahul saying, did Malcolm get his visa? And by mistake, I actually typed in that box. What would I have expected? I would have expected the bot to respond in some manner. But the bot went back and said, it didn't even say I did not understand. It just threw me another menu option there. Right? So these are some examples, right? You have very limited use cases where today we can leverage it. There are use cases where the bot is still not able to hand over, or bot is still not able to understand things. So I think, if we can harness the technology in a right manner, providing the right intent, right conversations, and narrowing down the examples that Malcolm was talking about, I think it's a very, very beautiful way of managing things.
And I think brands, I believe, are kind of investing into the technology. Vivek, you can tell more about, from a CTO perspective, how brands are, how Fab India is kind of investing into these technologies, into, connecting better with the customers, seamlessly with the customers, and sharpening and delighting their experiences.
Yeah, so I think brands has to invest in technology and give a seamless experience to the customers. As I earlier mentioned, that personalization and interactiveness is the core of the customer experience. And another point where, which I come to your last question, whether it is a cost center or profit center, it is definitely a profit center, because now the cost of acquiring a new customer is much higher than retaining an existing customer.
Absolutely.
So most of the retailers getting 70 to 80% of their revenue of their existing customers. So in that case, we need to give customer an omni-channel experience, so that they have a seamless experience and they can shop more, buy more from us. That's our intent.
And I think let's do a round across the table how everyone sees, like, CX as a cost center or a profit center. Parul?
Definitely it's a profit center, and as Vasu just now said, that we can automate things where human intervention is not required,
Okay.
and then move these people to a more cost fulfilling profiles. So like we have to retain the customer, so we have our high value, HNI, high rollers, different nomenclatures are used in different industries, so we can give them a differential treatment, we can set a differential line for these customers, ensure that they are coming back to us. If they are not coming back to us, we should not even shy away and taking their feedback. They might not come back to us, but they can give a very valuable feedback to us that where we were going wrong, and we can at least correct those things. So definitely I will never say that CX is a cost center anymore.
Ravi, and I believe technology can only help you achieve the kind of personalization that you're talking about,
Definitely.
at scale.
Yeah.
It's, impossible otherwise, I believe, with millions of customers already onboarded. Ravi, what do you think?
Absolutely. So without an iota of doubt, it would be profit center. So as everyone said, and I completely agree with that, because when the funnel is not there, right, when all type of queries, all type of complaints, communication, everything is coming to the team, then the team would be absolutely busy without doing anything else, right? So with the help of these things like automation, artificial intelligence and everything, when we have that funnel, right, then only those kind of cases will come to the team where any manual intervention is required. And as everyone said, then the team will have the bandwidth to spend some time on other activities where, let's suppose, we can generate revenue, we can have profit and everything. So definitely it is a profit center, without a doubt.
I'm probably going to be the outlier today, but cost center moving towards a profit center, let me put it that way. The idea is we want to make it a profit center, and taking what Vasu was saying, I think cross-selling, upselling multiple products, again, because we are more or less a B2B kind of an organization, where if we got a foot in the door to a customer with one product, how can these sort of experiences help you leverage more products through us, increase the average revenue per user? And to what Vivek was saying on the retention is super key. Very difficult to measure that how good customer experience is giving you retention, but it definitely does. That if you can link back those to say, because of a good customer experience, faster turnaround times, better resolutions, omni-channel experience, two-way communication, personalized experiences, sellers, your sellers stick to you more. Definitely that moves towards making it a more profit center outlook versus a cost
And like
center.
Vasu also mentioned, it helps in a lot of cross-selling also. You are able to, sell
Yep.
them,
Yep.
other line of products also, when
Absolutely.
you can reach out to them. Retention absolutely helps. Arvind, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I am not surprised when everybody said it's a profit center on this table, on this panel here. But when you go back to the organization, the reality is there's always a discussion. But I'll be very candid here that there is a huge shift in most of the organizations, if I may say, when the business discusses, the focus on CX being a cost center is gradually reducing. Reason being that when does a customer approach the CX teams? When the customer is in some kind of a problem. Right?
Mostly.
So if you resolve the problem fastest in the best possible manner, you're helping, the CX team is helping build up that brand perception with the customer. So if you're able to build up the brand perception, bring a good brand image, you won half the battle. And second thing is, of course, with the automations, etc., I won't take away the upsells, cross-sells of the world and the CACs and the revenues and ROIs. Of course, they are there. But if you are able to reduce the cost which you incur for the organization in CX by automations, having a right hybrid, and then able to do more value add. For example, if 100 people were handling CX for 30 million shipments a month, and now if the volume being handled is 60 million per month, but your manpower in CX is, instead of becoming 130, has gone on to 70, you become a profit center, ipso facto.
Absolutely.
So that's
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, while we have a full house, talking, saying that it's a profit center. Also, what are the kind of innovations that we are expected to see, in terms of technology going future? Like you mentioned that when you entered, about Malcolm's visa into that WhatsApp conversation, the response was again the menu options that you got. It needs a little more on the technological refinement. So what are the kind of technological refinements that we are expected to see in the CX space? I'll come to everybody for the opinion. Let's start with Vasu.
Yeah, so there, thanks again. Very interesting question, and there I would say there are 3 or 4 things that will be very dominant in the customer experience space in the next few years. One of them is obviously the AI, and we heard about Malcolm talking about AI in a big way. AI is going to become more and more mature. I mean, today, we saw an example of fracture detection increasing by 10%, right? But I think, it's going to become better. We see the autonomous vehicles or self-driving vehicles. While there are certain kinks out here and there, but I'm sure, in some of the warehousing, in delivery and Shiprocket, I'm sure, they're using a lot of robots there. And, they're going to get a bit more automated, bit more complex situations they will be able to handle. So AI is one of them. The second thing I talked about was harnessing the data and then, moving towards customer journeys which are more intent-based. It's still a lot more work needs to be done there. The third thing is, with low-code, no-code becoming more and more popular, I think we will start seeing more of citizen-centric or citizen developers kind of this thing. And in the recent conversation around moonlighting, if you've heard, our Minister of IT, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, also said that the companies are trying to treat their developers as captives, but I think it's going to be more citizen-centric. So he's also hinting towards that, and I know Infosys came out around moonlighting as well, right? And so certain policies around moonlighting. So I think it's a wave that we will see. I mean, no longer we will see captive developers or captive kind of thing, but with development becoming more and more easier, more complex, and more low-code, no-code platforms coming, I think we will start moving towards that. So.
Right. Vivek, let's start with you. What are the kind of technological innovations, that you would want to see with, conversational CX becoming more and more efficient?
So, where the seamless experience we can provide to the customer, that is going to be relevant. But here, there is a catch, because as CXOs, we cannot go to every shining object, because chatbots also, multiple brands tried 3, 4, 5 years back, and there are multiple failure stories, and they burnt a lot of cost. So this we need to go through that these technologies will evolve, and how there is a fine balancing of implementing the technology where you can optimize the cost, and one cannot go everywhere whatever the latest in the market or the khao wala jo concept hai, whatever the concept, the next shining object may not be very, very relevant for the brands, because unless that technology, because they have AI also has its own challenges of semantics and all those things, and it is evolving and it is getting mature day by day. But first mover like Meta we can see, and other technologies, first mover can have their own advantages as well as their own pitfalls. It may not work every time. So with that intent, brands has to move.
Interesting. Yeah, sure.
Vivek, very well said. We started bots, and then we said, a lot of failures, right? That's purely because, we tend to overestimate the technology's capability in the short term, and then, we underestimate in the longer term perspective.
That's how sales guys sell us. They show us the moon on day one.
Parul, what do you think? What are the kind of innovations, that you would want to see?
So before we start any innovation, we have to understand our customers first,
Okay.
right? So understanding what the customer wants, which segment of the customers we are catering to. So if let's assume if I see my data, I would see that in gaming sector, customers are not very comfortable talking, they are comfortable chatting or sending an email, right? So once I understand what my customer wants, basis that I should move with innovation. And definitely, while we talk about conversational communications, we talk about communications where there should be like a more personal touch, more interactive. So we have to ensure that it is a very delicate blend between automations and having the right number of humans interacting with the customer. So again, like we have to ensure that at which stage automation needs to be
Yeah.
stopped. And plus, I also believe while a conversation moves from a bot to a human, it should be very seamless. The
True.
customer should not get a feel, oh, abhi to bot se ka baat kar raha tha, now a human has come in, right? So that should be very seamless. So that's my thought.
Interesting. No, that's actually true. And when I shared my example
Yeah.
in the at the beginning of the session, that actually felt like kind of seamless because the bot asked me, should I arrange a call for you in the next 11 minutes? Because it was the moment where probably the engine realized that now it's a time for the human intervention.
Yes.
Ravi, what's your thoughts? What are kind of innovations that you expect?
So I will go with artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I will give you one example here. So one of the food tech company which we have, right? Initially, let's suppose due to any reason you did not like the taste, or maybe like it was not delivered, or any reason, if you wanted a refund, right? So previously you used to chat with bot, but chat was not capable enough to give you any refund. Right, for that particular communication will go to a human, a team member, and then it would get. Now bot has been authorized to process a refund to a certain extent, maybe not completely, but to a certain extent they can do that. So now let's suppose half of that particular journey is already taken care by the bot, right? So we would be looking for more innovations like that, right? But having said that, I will agree with Parul what she said, that it should be like a very personalized, right? It should be seamless, right? Nobody should feel like the transition is happening from a bot to a human being, right? So because personal touch, right? These things are very, very important for customer retention as well. So that needs to be seamless, but at the same time, more technology would be required in that.
Also, I believe what just Ravi mentioned. Data forms the key basis for it. Because the more and more number of use cases, I believe, are fed as data to the learning process. The bot kind of evolves, and the entire machine learning process kind of evolves, and then it kind of reaches the stage of authorization. Right?
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely right.
Great. What do you think, Praful?
Sure. Like innovations I would like to see in this area, two are coming to mind. One, see some of the happy flows when we think of any sort of customer experience, which is, hey, press a button, get a return or a refund, press a button, change your email ID, etc. work really well, I think, and those are simpler to solve. Where it starts breaking is the long tail of the 10, 15, 20%, where they are scattered experiences, and which are probably the ones that need to be handled the best, because those are the critical ones where it takes a lot of time. And I feel the current experiences are still pretty isolated to one sort of system or person at a time.
Right.
For any engagement, you could actually require multiple stakeholders and systems to be invoked at the same time. This could be systems which are sitting not just across your sort of organization, it could be peripheral. There could be people in different functions. You need a customer service guy, you need an ops guy, you need finance to get involved, you need delivery executive at a time to actually make a real-time call to, etc., to rearrange, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. I think those are not very seamlessly solved in this ecosystem yet. The multi sort of, people and system involvement, I think that needs, I would love to see that happen, to be solved seamlessly for an end customer. That's one. And the second one is more India specific. I think we keep on talking about the fact that, tier 3, tier 4 and Bharat onwards is where, a lot of the not just the businesses but also the consumers are going towards. And we've always heard the fact about voice and vernacular being the way to solve that. That's not really scaled apart from content consumption experiences yet. How do we make that a critical part of these experiences where people who are coming on board and are comfortable with a voice or a vernacular experience can leverage this kind of experience there? So those are the two innovations I'd like to see in this area in the future.
Interesting. Arvind, your final thoughts?
Yeah, so conversational CX, whether it is a voice bot, a chat bot, a seamless transition from a bot to a human being, a hybrid model working is absolutely fine. There's no doubt about it. At the same time, the internal flow of communication, ticket management on ground within an organization seamlessly between various functions to give the good experience to the end consumer is very important. We have some distance to travel there. Same way, if a consumer is approaching a brand through social media, and social media also through different platforms, a Twitter, a Facebook, an Instagram, what have you, and parallelly going to the website and addressing something, and also writing an email, is something which the organization needs to take stock of it from all the channels in one go, and make a response so that all modes wherever the consumer is approached to the brand is addressed. I think there's a lot of gap there also, where there's a challenge and innovation is to be seen.
Great.
Lighter side, I think you don't have to travel too far. You can just travel about 2 steps.
Great. I think the time's up and we have kind of overstretched also. So I'm opening the floor for the audiences. Any one of you have questions to these gentlemen? I think we have a question at the back from the gentleman.
I would like you to throw a light on augmented reality. So how augmented reality, your experience and how this is going to enhance the customer experience. AR.
Yeah, I think we have some space to travel there. I feel that, like in my personal honest opinion, I think there's a way to go. We have some experiences, at least what we are seeing coming up in the shopping part of it, to say, when I wear a particular kind of spectacles or if I wear a particular kind of t-shirt, how will I look, etc. I think that experiences are still getting built. The customer experience part, I think, till we stitch up at least the conversational bots, I feel the AR is still a while away in my honest opinion.
But what I can think of, what I can think of is, in the case of white goods or in the case of repair and maintenance, I think that's where possibly one use case I can think of. But as Praful said, it's still in an exploration phase, kind of thing, quite a distance to travel.
Right.
Hi, good evening. First of all, I would like to thank you for your insights, and it's a pleasure to be here. So my question is I'll talk about my specific business. So in my business, the age bracket of the customers is about from 35 till 70, 80, because it's an ethnic wear brand. And as much as I agree with you guys that AI is the way, it reduces time, energy, and but in India, you can't expect people of those age brackets to be as tech savvy as the younger generation or, as population in the US. So how do you tackle with those customers? As much as the business wants to modernize everything, machines are the way, but our customer base is such delicate that you have to be very careful. So how do you deal with such situations? For example, there's it's an honor that person from Fab India is here. Even though Fab India takes care of all the age brackets, but in my business, as I said, the age bracket is very limited and those people are not tech savvy. So how do you tackle with such problems?
Okay, so my experience is slightly different on this. One is that even if we take case of UPI or something, even elder generation is also well versed and doing transactions on UPI. Second piece is still, if you see the consumption of mobile data or something, even I see my mother or these people who are 60 plus, they are also either learning the ropes on social media or interacting with mobiles and all those things. So they are pretty comfortable in that aspect. And third thing is that is where the balancing of the automation as well as human touch should be there, but we should not underestimate the potential of our citizens, and they are going to be tech savvy and do better than what we expect from them. That's my take on it. But at the end of the day, along with automation, all those things, personal touch will be required. So there will always be approach. They can call center, or they can visit a store, or all those traditional channels of communication should be open. But I think they are well conversant with the new way of interacting. That's my take on it.
Maybe I can just add an example, and taking cue from Vivek, for my mother as well. If she has to place a return on Amazon, very simple to do. Like, she knows where the My Orders page is, and she can click a button and get that through. Recently, she bought something from a direct-to-consumer website. She had a pain in just getting to that. First, she did not know how to get to a My Account because it was a website, no app. Then get to the My Account, there was no auto account created. She had to sign up first with the number that she placed an order, then get a verified email, go back, etc. So completely lost track, and then I had to end up calling. I think technology is the way to solve it. Like, if it was as simple as the Amazon experience here, she would have ended up doing it. Like, at least with COVID, what we've seen, there's been forced and accelerated technology adoption, whether anybody liked it or not. Like, she was the one who told me that you have to swipe left if you want to reply to a message on WhatsApp. I didn't know that existed. She discovered, yeah. So things like that, I think are, and you'll be surprised at how every generation can pick up technology if it's just tuned to helping them get there.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I just have a very small question, one question. What should be the total percentage budget spent on your feedback from the overall customer care budget that you put in a company?
So I don't think there is a lot of budget that you have to spend for feedback, because nowadays it is all automated. So you would not spend lot of time in implementing it, rather you have to spend lot of time in analyzing it. Once you get the feedback, you have to study it very carefully, because if we don't study that feedback, that really becomes irrelevant, and whatever budget you might have spent, that becomes it goes in vain. So the analysis and the implementation is more important once you have the right feedback from the customer.
Right. We have time for one more question. I think we have gentlemen at the back.
Yeah, hi, my name is Arpit. I'm from Cars24. My question is that I am like sitting in between whether CX is a cost center or a profit center, like few of you over there. I just wanted to know that, see, there is one customer experience across all industry which is like hygiene. It has to be there. Otherwise it just breaks your customer. And then there is incremental customer delight that you keep on adding in your experience overall. So my question is that, when do I get to know, rather than I would still get to know, but how much value does, or how much premium does that incremental customer delight experience brings to me? When would it come? I would get to know from my, people spending time on my app, or, multiple transactions happening on my apps, and then I know that, okay, this customer is ready to pay a premium to me, right? And I can offer more premium customer experience to him. But how much is the value of that? Is there any science behind it? Because I think till now we have been calculating it basis, our cost associated with that, But the real value of that incremental customer experience that we bring in for the customer is something which is more hit and trial, or you guys have figured out some science behind it. I would just like to know that.
No, yeah, it's hard. It's hard, man. I mean, it's not simple. Let me put it that way. And again, I think there will be some hit and trial, and it will not be a generic framework, in my opinion, applicable across industries, across companies of different shapes and sizes. I think essentially what you're trying to look for, hey, if I move my customer experience from, let's say, X to 1.2X, what is the business value that I end up creating there, and is that investment necessarily good enough for me, right? And this sort of, at least in my experience over e-commerce over the last few years, has been that you need to measure this over elongated period of time. Hey, I used to be at a call center where my drop-off rate was 10%. Now I'm doing, CSAT of 98%, so I've definitely come away. Is my customer lifetime value increased in the last 6 months or the 12 months cohort, right? For the people who I'm addressing, who have touched, which I touched earlier, are they necessarily sticking around more with me? With like Cars 24, obviously the repeat cycles are much longer. I'm not going to end up buying a car every 6 months or 12 months. Like maybe other experiments, like am I referring people enough? Or are people coming through more contacts there? Or some sort of measure in a 6 month, 12 month, 18 month time period to say, if I move my experience from X to 1.5X, what is the business value I get from them? That's something that you probably have to zero in is the way I'll think about it.
Great. I guess, we're done with the questions. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was lovely interacting with you on the future of customer experience, how conversational CX, is helping brands establish more trust, helps in retention and, driving a higher ROI for them.